And the difference is between these two teams, looking at two totally different sports, but the difference in telling who's a contender and who's not is how I think they're going to approach the trade deadline. And that's coming up quicker than we think, especially for the NHL. It'll come right off the heels of the Olympics. Realistically, the Pistons only need an additional outside shooter. Somebody like Duncan Robinson, that type that doesn't just stand in the corner and jack up threes. They don't need any players like that. They need people that can shoot that three and do some other stuff as well. Play decent defense, cut to the basket, pass the ball well, play well off the pick and roll like Robinson does. Somebody like that. Now, I know that's probably a heavy ask, but they're probably not going to get somebody that caliber, but maybe that type. And they don't necessarily need it, but that is definitely the team's biggest weakness, is the threat of outside shooting, because they don't really need more outside shooting. They need the threat of it. Just somebody that can extend the floor a little bit to give Cade and Ivy and company, Duran, Stewart, more room to work in the paint. Even somebody just to occasionally help bust those zones, get those teams out of zones, because that's the one time the Pistons seem to struggle like really bad on offense, is when the team goes to that zone. Now, they don't have to beat it with the outside shooting, but it would be much quicker. Just pop a couple threes, 9 quick points, and they're like, okay, we'll go back. We'll try our luck with this defending the paint. The question is, what could they give up to get, another shooter? Ultimately, when you have a team with this many good players and this level of depth, there's nobody that you're comfortable saying, oh yeah, I'd give that up, or oh yeah, I'm okay with them not being on the team anymore. I really think there's just so many players that it would be a bummer to lose. But, you have to give stuff up to get stuff back. Some people are worried about having another star next to Cade. What exactly is meant by this, another star? So if you're just saying star power for star power's sake, there's been a lot of teams that have been built on that have floundered and flailed and crashed out. Everywhere James Harden's ever been, everywhere Russell Westbrook's ever been, Paul George, these guys that are added to have another star, it's got to be more so the right player than a star. Sorry about the dog barking. Can't do much about that. Somebody's walking outside. How dare they? For a while, the big rumor was Anthony Davis, and I think that was like a Dallas media pushed thing, hoping a team like Detroit would be stupid enough to take Anthony Davis and his giant contract. And I think I saw the other day, this will be the 7th straight year that he's failed to play at least 60 games in an NBA season. You can't have that. Not for the amount of money he makes. And I think they said it would be like a team that traded for him now, with the injury he has now, wouldn't get him back till like the second round of the playoffs. At that point, that's just dumb. Then the big one right now is Michael Porter Jr. My biggest concern there is that contract. That is $38 million this year, $40 million next year. Now, I believe that's not fully guaranteed. I'm not sure the ins and outs of that, but $40 million, $40 million, that's a lot of money to cover. And looking at his skill set, just to the other NBA players around that number, let's just compare. Scotty Barnes, is he better or worse than Scotty Barnes? I'm going to let you answer that yourself. Franz Wagner. Who would you rather have, Franz Wagner or Michael Porter Jr.? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Brandon Ingram. The only one that I could argue that Michael Porter Jr. gives you better value at that dollar for is maybe Brandon Ingram. But I always say be careful of players having career years on awful teams. The Nets have won 11 games, and Michael Porter Jr. is putting up career numbers. He's shooting 40% from the three-point line, a career best. Good, it's good, solid shooting. He's averaging. Sorry, scrolling through his basketball reference page here. 25.9 points per game, which is almost 7 points better than his previous career best. But, I mean, before he played, he scored less because he played on a good team in Denver. And he was, part of a unit. So anybody that would have to be a realistic part of the expectation is he's not bringing 26 points per game to the Pistons. He comes here, he's not going to be the top guy. Arguably he comes here, he's the third option in a starting lineup. Maybe even probably realistically the third option. But, he's not getting, the 19 shots per game that he's getting in Brooklyn. It'd probably be closer to what he was getting in Denver, closer to like that 13 and a half mark. And the improved three-point shooting and the increased numbers that would be encouraging. I know that's probably a big thing for a lot of people. I'm not sure how he fits in style-wise. There's a lot of standing around, a lot of and I'm not sure about him defensively. I don't know if he'd be like a good fit either. But I really think the biggest thing to worry about is that price for that player. There's a reason that Denver wanted to move on from that. And it's because of the contract. And how do you keep a lot of these other very talented young players like Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey, whose contracts are coming up? How do you keep them still find ways to improve the team in other ways if you add this Michael Porter Jr.? This is, to me, with his contract, if you go after him, and I guess it depends, too, who you trade. Is Ivy probably going to have to be a part of that trade? It seems like it. Probably Tobias Harris. And then, realistically, probably some draft picks. And then I would worry that, the sticking point for any team looking to try and trade in that way, they're looking for a great contract like Isaiah Stewart, whose contract now is amazing for the role that he plays. I think it's like $16 million a year. Such a value add, and I would not give him up in any trade. I would consider him untouchable. But that's really where that problem for any trade like that comes down to, is you have to give up players that maybe you don't want to give up, and then you have to look at the size of this contract and is he a fit with the way that these guys play? Is he going to want to come in here and be part of the team rather than what he's doing now in Brooklyn, where he's the dude? I don't know.